Welcome to Go Ballistic. I'm Derek McGregor, and on today's show we'll be getting the typically no-nonsense verdict from Kris Boyd on Scotland's latest defeat, sickening loss in Portugal in the final few minutes in Lisbon. But first of all, I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Sun Sports football writing doyen, Kenny MacDonald. And Kenny, desperately disappointing night again for Scotland. How did you see it?
Yeah, it was so close yet so far. Really, it was another of those circumstances that we've suddenly found ourselves trapped in. Very similar game to Thursday night against Poland at Hampden. A good performance in lots of ways. There were times last night where we didn't see a lot of the ball, as you would have expected against a team of Portugal's quality. There were times when our goalkeeper made some good saves, albeit he was at fault with Portugal's equaliser. But it looked as though we were going to end up with a point, which would have been a terrific result in the Estadio de Luz. And it was just so disappointing for the team. I sympathise with what Steve Clarke said about the team. I felt for them. I felt for the fans, because they've had to put up with a lot in the last calendar year since we beat Cyprus 3-0 a year ago yesterday. They've had to put up with a lot of tepid performances. But last night's performance, and to some extent Thursday's, I thought was a bit more like the Scotland of 2023, the Scotland that we'd become used to, the Scotland that got us to the Euros. There was a lot of resilience. There was a lot of competitiveness. The structure looked better, I thought. Whether you play 4 at the back or 3 at the back, I heard Willie Miller at the weekend on the radio saying we're still losing goals, but I just thought we looked a bit more secure, albeit we did need to rely on the goalkeeper for a lot of the time. But a better performance, but a disappointing result.
It's a big move by Steve Clarke, Kenny, to move us to a back 4, because you know better than anyone that the manager tends to stick to what he knows. But you can see the improvement in the performance, and you think he will recognise that and stick with it because he can see the progress.
Well, the thing about this Nations League section is we're now amongst the elite of Europe, as has been shown, particularly last night when there were times where we didn't see a lot of the ball, as I said, because Portugal have such good players. So by going to a back 4, he gets to put another man in midfield to try and counteract that. If he plays a 4-5-1, although last night was a bit more like a 4-4-1-1, but it gets more bodies in midfield to try and at least wrestle some possession back. Now, whether or not he perseveres with that, we go to Croatia next, which will be another tough test, then Portugal at Hampden. But whether or not he may even view these games in the Nations League as a chance to experiment with 4 at the back and see if it works for him. But it's certainly, I think the signs in the 2 games, disappointing results, yes, but some positivity.
There's so many horrible stats that naturally are getting thrown out at the moment. I think that's a 4th defeat in our last 5 competitive games, but he has the total backing of the SFA hierarchy. And how do you think Steve will be dealing with the pressure, particularly from the Tartan Army? Is his nature that he can deal with that no problem?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think, even when Scotland were going through that fantastic run of results and performances that got us to the Euro finals, he was back to the Craig Brown maxim of don't get too high when you're doing well, don't get too low when things aren't going well. So there is an element of resilience. He's been a manager or a coach for a long, long time. He's seen good times and he's seen bad times. I mean, he'll cope with that side of it. The thing that will irk people about him is that there's a thrownness, to use an old Scottish word about Steve's personality. The stubbornness was evident last night. He stuck with the same team when people maybe thought Ryan Gauld might have got a start. I never thought Ben Doak would get a start, but people thought he might shake things up a bit. Given the fact that they lost on Thursday night, he went to the same team. And I think he was vindicated by the performance, because I thought the performance was, in general, well-structured, organised, and more or less, for most of the time, quite good.
I can't imagine a time we'll never see Steve Clarke getting too high, giddy even, Kenny. But, I mean, there's obviously a clamour for new players to come into the team, especially Ben Doak. How do you feel about his whole approach regards Ben Doak?
I think he's handled it well because Ben Doak's senior football experience is very, very limited. And I know on Saturday's press conference before the Portugal match, he even spoke in terms of Ben Doak 2 years from now. So Ben Doak is a long-term project for club and country. It would prove nothing to put Ben Doak into a game against Portugal where his inexperience would be manifest. So I think he's handling that situation well. I didn't think he would even come on last night. I didn't think it was the kind of game, maybe a home game. If we were in a lower section of the Nations League and we were playing more moderate, shall we say, opposition, maybe against a team from Eastern Europe at Hampden, that would be a circumstance where you would maybe unleash Ben Doak, and knowing that he'll have the backing of a positive home support, but not at Lisbon against Portugal, no.
I thought it was very interesting, Kenny, that, Scotland legend Willie Miller was very positive at full time, and I'm sure Steve will very much appreciate the backing of someone of that stature. And, Willie's confident that we're on the right path in terms of World Cup qualification. Do you share that opinion?
Yeah, as I say, I heard Willie on the radio. I didn't hear him last night, but I heard him on the radio on Saturday. And he spoke very vehemently about Steve Clarke being the right man. And I would agree with that because, he has a group of players. People seem to be overlooking the fact that we're missing players. We're missing key players.
Absolutely.
Kieran Tierney is arguably Scotland's best player. Arguably.
Yeah.
Scott McTominay scores 10 and 17, that's fabulous. But defensively, we look much better when we have Kieran Tierney's pace in the defence. So, you can talk about Nathan Patterson, and there are other players who are missing. So
Aaron Hickey, of course,
Aaron Hickey, and there are players who are missing that would make Scotland a better team because they would go into the team. So I think, given that what he's dealing with at the moment, I think he's making a good job of it.
In terms of the players, Kenny, do you have a certain sympathy for, say, the likes of Tony Ralston, who is very rarely playing for Celtic, but then has to make the huge step up and has to instantly be good enough internationally?
Absolutely. And I think he made a mistake on Thursday night, as did Grant Hanley, to concede 2 penalties. But other than that mistake against Poland, I thought he played well. I thought he did reasonably well last night against a flying machine, the AC Milan winger who played against him. And
Leo was first class, wasn't he?
And it looked as though it was going to be a difficult night for him, but I thought he got to grips with them. And I thought over the 2 games, I don't think he has anything to feel ashamed about. Certainly in terms of his form in the 2 games, I think he's done well.
Yeah. I think obviously the results and the stats don't look good, and it can be too easy to focus on the negative. But there are positives that we should be looking at that you've touched on, Kenny.
Well, I know that the TV coverage this morning has been focusing on Scotland losing five late goals in the last something like 6 internationals. To me, that's just a statistical quirk. In the same way as strikers go through barren patches of not scoring goals. I think that's just a statistical moment in time. And a year from now, we could have gone the other way again. And suddenly we're scoring goals. Suddenly Lyndon Dykes ends his goal drought. It's unfortunate, but it shouldn't overlook the fact that the 2 performances have been better than probably a lot of people might have expected.
Kenny, I appreciate your analysis. I'm delighted to say that we're joined by Sun Sports straight-talking columnist and former Scotland striker Kris Boyd. Kris, can I have your verdict, please, on another desperately disappointing night for Scotland?
Yeah, it was in terms of the result, Derek. I think the performance once again is the exact same as what it was in Thursday night against Poland. There was a lot of positive to take from that, but at the same time, it's the result that matters. It's 1-1 in 14. It is becoming worrying But I think, I said at my column at the weekend, I just feel as if there's a transition with Scotland right now where, I don't think Steve Clarke wants to throw in all the youngsters that are coming through, but at the same time, he wants to integrate them ahead of, the World Cup qualifying campaign. Are we going to win the Nations League? No. Are we going to get relegated? More than likely. Probably back down to the level that where we are. I think we can compete, but it's very difficult to go and win these games. And I think, the last two especially have shown that. There's been a lot of negativity flying around after the Euros, and rightly so, because of the way we went about it there. But you kind of get the feeling that the last two games have, maybe brought a little bit of positivity back. But people are they want results. They want to win games of football, and that's not happening at this moment in time. And Steve Clarke needs to find a way to do it. I thought, I'll be honest with you, Derek, he might not be a lot of people's favourite, but Lyndon Dykes brings so much to that Scotland team. You've seen it the last two games in terms of, when teams are trying to press on you, you can go long, you can win headers, and it's not just like flick-ons for people to go and chase. You look at the way he plays. He's very good with his head. He's very good at using it. Maybe because we've got more or less five in that middle area. We had McLean and Gilmer sitting, but you had three in front of them that were able to get further forward and in contact with Lyndon Dykes, whereas before it was maybe set up to be, that box in the middle, but nobody really got forward. I think, you've got the protection behind you in this formation. But it's all going to change again as soon as Kieran Tierney comes back, because we must find a way to get him in the team. So I'd imagine it'll go back to a back three. But for me, Lyndon Dykes brings so much to this team.
Just touch on and some of the players, including Lyndon Dykes, in a moment, Kris, but just on Steve Clarke, you expressed your support for him again in Saturday's paper, and I think, as you point out, we're going through a transition period. Do you become increasingly concerned with every defeat that we suffered that he could yet become a casualty of that?
No, I don't, because I think when you look at the bigger picture, yes, there'll be people turn. Look, inevitably, Steve Clarke will leave Scotland. That's what will happen. That's what always happens when you're in a job. Do I think it's at that stage yet? No. I know there were people moaning and people want to, go and get another manager. Who is there out there that's going to take the Scotland job, and who is there out there that's going to take the Scotland job and improve us? That's the key thing. You kind of get a feeling that this squad might, and I'll use the word might, have hit a glass ceiling in terms of its back-to-back Euros, it's Nations League, it's a top table, and that. The big thing would be, can we go and qualify for the World Cup? And Steve Clarke deserves the chance to qualify for the World Cup. Listen, people will go on and on about, we need to change the manager. It's 1-1, but you've got to take into consideration the calibre of teams our countries that we've been playing against. Yes, the performances might not have been as good as what we thought, but a lot of these poor performances, Derek, have came from us being so good at the start of the European qualification. You kind of took the foot off the gas towards the end of the group. You didn't win a few games, and then the knock-on effect. The Northern Ireland one was a big one. Finland, Northern Ireland, that there was, rightly so, there was maybe people starting to ask questions then. But you then fast forward, and the games that we've played, the Euros, we never got going. Whether it was injuries, whether the occasion got to the players, I don't know, but we never got going at all. But as I said, the last two games, there has been positives to take. There's been youngsters get on the pitch. There's been, first caps given out. But as I said, it's a transition period for Scotland. And I don't think there's any point in ripping it up right now and going again, because for me, Steve Clarke's been over the course and distance. He knows how to structure a team, how to get results, and he'll turn this around.
You quite rightly gave credit to Lyndon Dykes, and it was an utterly selfless role that he had to perform last night. Worked his socks off, but you got the distinct impression that every player last night was playing for the manager, and it was a hell of an effort, and it was just unfortunate that both the goals, there were errors. Yes,
but again, it's a common theme, Derek. You go back to Poland, the two penalty kicks. I'll be honest with you, I thought Angus Gunn should have done better with the first one on Thursday. And he definitely should have done better last night with Bruno Fernandes. I touched on it Saturday. Is it time to go and bring back Craig Gordon? Maybe. maybe. I understand the reason why he didn't go to the Euros. I do. If you're taking an experienced goalkeeper who wasn't going to play, hadn't been playing, he'd been out for a long time, but he's now got himself back as a Hearts #1, playing regular. I think Angus Gunn has done really well for Scotland. I do. But there might just be a little time where you need to just come out, reset, let everything, the critics die down, and then all of a sudden come back in. Because, Angus Gunn is the future for Scotland. There's no doubt about that. Craig Gordon, I just think that stability, you can bring him in for a game or two, that allows Angus Gunn maybe just to take a back seat and take, get the critics off his back, because he made a few good saves last night, but the ones you'd expect him to save, he's got to save Bruno Fernandes. He will know that himself. I think the penalty kick on sorry?
He showed it in the aftermath, Kris.
Yeah, 100%. He knows that himself. He'll be disappointed, but I think that for me, I just think Craig Gordon might just be, even if it's for a couple of games, just to allow Angus Gunn just to settle, because you're now looking forward to the next 2 games, and all of a sudden people are saying, "Oh, what about the goalkeeper?" You don't need that negativity going into it. Maybe just time to bring Craigie back for a couple of games, because he can, he can handle it, and then start to integrate Angus Gunn again after the next 2.
Some of the big positives, Kris, Kenny McLean centre midfield looks comfortable. Him and Billy Gilmore could, with a bit more time, form a good partnership. Scott McTominay just behind the striker looks like a revelation.
Unbelievable. 10 goals in his last 17 internationals. It's incredible. But not only that, I think, we touched on the formation briefly there. It allows them to get further forward. There is a connection there with Lyndon Dykes. He knows that he can go and gamble on picking up second balls, because, as I said, Lyndon Dykes is so good with his head. It's like passing the ball for some people. He gets up and he's awareness as well, Dykes. But McTominay, his runs, his movement in and around the box is excellent. It's striker-esque. There's no doubt about it. And this might sound crazy, but I think he can actually get better, because he's been in and out the Manchester United team. He's not had a run of games. He's now signed with Napoli, he should get a run of games there, get his fitness up to peak, and we might just see somebody, kick on for Scotland. I hope that's the case anyway. Not putting any more pressure on him, because his goals returns, as I said, 10 and 17 has been excellent. But I think there is more to come from Scott McTominay. I really do. And that more advanced role definitely does suit him.
It's a sensational finish. You would have been proud of that, eh?
Oh, definitely. I wouldn't have got there to get the header in it. But as I said, I think the movement, great ball in from Andy Robertson as well. And just fantastic, just to peel off the back and then, arrive there with a powerful header. A lot of people will think, it's easy because, the goal's right there. But you've got to stay concentrated, get that clean connection with it. And that's exactly what happened. Bulleted it past. The goalkeeper left him with absolutely no chance. And it was a really, really top header. Touching on Kenny MacLean and Billy Gilmore, there's a good balance in there. Similar to McGregor and Gilmore, I know they weren't always paired together as such, but when you've got that right footed and the left footed in the middle of the pitch here, there's more of a balance to it. And as I said, the ones in front of them, the 3, I thought over the 2 games, that 5 as such were really good, really good. I thought, they took the ball, they made things happen, or tried to make things happen. They were confident on it, even when you were back to the wall last night, and Portugal got the equaliser, and then you think, here we go again. This could be 3, 4, 5. But after Portugal got the goal, Scotland had a really good spell. They had a really good spell, and it was down to the boys there who get on the ball and make things happen and keeping the ball and frustrating. And that's what we've got to do at an international level.
It doesn't get any easier for Scotland, of course. Next month we've got Croatia away, Portugal at home. No less a figure than Willie Miller. Kris is confident that Steve Clarke has got us on the right path for World Cup qualification. Do you see that positivity building towards the big qualifying campaign?
We've got ourselves in a position in terms of back-to-back Euros, the Nations League top flight. We've got ourselves in that position. There is going to be some bumps in the road. There's no doubt about it. But let's be realistic. For Scotland, the next step in this journey is to qualify for the World Cup. It's to qualify for the World Cup. And if we can integrate a few players into this squad that allows them to flourish come the qualifying campaign, then I'm all for that. If we have to take, a few bad results as such right now, and I don't think you can write any off. And the last two games have shown that, Derek, that Scotland have went to win these games of football. They've not been looking at Poland, they've not been looking at Portugal and thinking, "Yous are way ahead of us." They've actually went in there with confidence and can win the game. And I think the likes of Doak and people like that, even Ryan Golden, I know he's a lot older, but he could be someone that makes a difference. He could be someone that comes in and makes that difference. I'm not saying he's going to be, but he just might have a say on Scotland qualifying for that World Cup. And as you said, it's all geared towards Mexico, USA, and Canada. Once this Nations League over, I said that it'll be full concentration on qualifying for that. Do I think we can get there? We'll need to wait and see what the group stage is, but I think we've got a chance. We have got a chance.
That's Scotland out the way for another month. We're straight back into domestic action this weekend, Kris. And what are the pick of the games for you? And I'm thinking not necessarily either Celtic or Rangers.
I think there's a few games. There's a few games for me, Derek, when you look at there's 4 teams in the top flight still without a victory. 4 of them. There's difficult games for them as well. Obviously we'll start on Celtic Hearts. Hearts for me, they really need to start winning games of football. It's difficult going to Celtic Park at the best of times. You then look, most have got the distraction of the League Cup next weekend. Hearts don't. They've got another tough game going to St Mirren. Stephen Naismith's going to come under pressure very, very soon. St Mirren, Kilmarnock, 2 teams that have had to deal with European football. Kilmarnock, another one without a victory. They're going to have to start picking up results. Hibs, St Johnstone, Hibs without a victory as well. It's incredible. Both Edinburgh teams we've now played 4 league games and none of them have managed to muster up a win. But I think Hibs should take care of St Johnstone, although St Johnstone have got a decent record at Easter Road. But Aberdeen, Motherwell. I mean, who would have thought Aberdeen would still be where they are, joint top. But I think now going forward, the fixtures I've got coming up, Derek, are difficult. Ross County, Dundee. Ross County, the last team without a victory. We've mentioned there Dundee doing well under Tony Dock. So, I mean, it's a difficult one. And then we go to Sky game at the weekend. Dundee United versus Rangers. Rangers away form's no been great, has it? They're going to have to start winning games of football. They could be 8 points behind Celtic by the time they kick off on Sunday afternoon. It's incredible to think that after 5 games you could be 8 points behind. And it's not going to be easy because, I had Dundee United down to struggle. And I think I've called that one wrong because Jim Goodwin, fantastic start they've had. They'll fancy their chances and they'll think they can get upset here with beating Rangers. But Rangers, I think they need to go and perform or put on a level that a performance in terms of the tempo and get after Dundee United and stop them playing that we've seen for a little period of time at Celtic Park, shall we say, for 10 minutes. But after that, totally capitulated. I'm sure Philip Clement will be looking for an all-round performance come the weekend. But there's a few games I'm looking forward to. I think Kilmarnock's a tasty one as well. There's always a little bit of needle in that one. There's always St Mirren they've been okay-ish. They've obviously picked up more points than Kilmarnock, but Derek McInnes will be. I'd imagine if he's probably given the boys a few days rest with the hectic period they've had, but he'll now be back to business probably this morning with a week build up to that game, and I'm sure Derek will know that Kilmarnock need to start winning games of football. Europe has been fantastic for them, but it's also been a distraction. So I'm sure he'll be looking forward to going there, but it'll be a difficult game, that's for sure.
Always excellent, Kris, to get your take on the big football topics. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching Go Ballistic. We'll be back on Friday. Please like and subscribe Sun Sports YouTube channel. All the best.